Ladies and gentlemen, Minecraft Java Edition 1.14 The Village and Pillage update has been released, bringing with it a brand new system for generating villages. In this video I'm going to give you some insight on how these villages get generated and what they can contain. And that means we're going to start out by looking at the sort of theory and system that's called the Jigsaw System, generating the villages. Then, after that, we're going to go through all of the different types of structures that make up these villages. And we're also going to go through all the loot that you can find in chests in these villages. If you want to skip ahead or back to a certain type of village structures or any other section, then scroll down to the pinned comment. It has timestamps for all of the sections in the video. And with that said, let's start looking at how the game pieces together these villages from a bunch of different structures. And in order to understand how these villages end up looking the way they do, we have to understand the system behind them. And that system is called the Jigsaw System. It's represented in game by jigsaw blocks inside of structure files, but knowing that isn't really sufficient to understanding how the villages get put together. So let's start with a higher level explanation. Let's use jigsaw pieces as a way to visualize the process. One important difference to note is that in a normal jigsaw puzzle, what you're trying to do is piece together one specific image from a whole bunch of entirely unique pieces. That is not entirely what we're doing here. What we're doing is using connections to build something unique out of pieces that share identical connectors, but where the combination of those different pieces creates something unique. In order to do this, we have to have a start piece that always starts the process. In the case of the villages, this is always the town center. There are several of them for the different villages, but one random piece out of the village town center pool is gonna get selected and put down into the world. For our example, the starting pieces or town centers are our black pieces. This is our starting piece. It'll have a number of connectors in it. In the game, those are represented by jigsaw blocks. In our case, those are gonna be our connectors. What happens then is the game tries to fit something appropriate into every connection. Each connection has a type, that is its target's pool, and of course the piece has to fit in with the available space. From all of the available puzzle pieces that could fit, one is selected at random and put into place. And keep in mind that at this stage the puzzle piece could be rotated any which way, so even though it looks like there might not be that many options, there are many more options than are apparent. Potentially, this piece can have more connectors of the same or of different kinds, and so the process continues until a certain depth has been reached, that is, a certain number of pieces have been put down in any single chain, or until there are no pieces that fit, or until there are no connectors in the pieces we've placed. Since each step in the process is a somewhat random selection, and since the result of that selection further affects what selections we do in the future, the result of this is a very random, but also somewhat structured village. In the actual game, the structure is that the village town center leads into a number of streets. Those can have straights, turns, and so on, but they're all part of the streets pool. Streets will have connectors for more streets, and for houses, and also for some things like decoration. Houses in turn will have more connectors for things like spawns of villagers or animals. And for the purpose of this system, things like farms and like animal pens are also considered houses. This covers the basic process. We start with the town center, we get some streets, we get houses, we get more streets, we get villagers, we get decorations, and so on. But it doesn't fully explain the process. There's another step after that that does block processing. This takes the spawned-in blocks from the structures, processes them according to some rules, which in some cases can replace those blocks with other blocks. For instance, when the system spawns in a grass path, and that grass path is spawning in above water, then the grass path is instead replaced with planks. Grass and dirt spawning into water just simply turn to water instead, which causes roads in watery areas to turn into bridges. Some of these processes are also random. For instance, there's a rule that randomly turns a few of the cobblestone blocks into mossy cobblestone, and a rule that randomly turns wheat into other crops. And while there are specific structure pools for zombie versions of villages, most of how a village becomes a zombie village is in this process, with rules that replace doors, torches, and lanterns with air, extinguishes campfires, and can replace cobble, planks, terracotta, logs, glass panes, sandstone, and so on with cobweb, or that can stain glass panes brown. Anyway, now that we know how the system itself works, let's take a look at the actual structures used as puzzle pieces to build the villages. Let's start with desert. There are 3 types of desert town centers. You've already seen these before in the video. Those lead off into houses and streets, so let's move on to the street sections. There are 3 straight sections, 3 crossroads, 2 squares, 1 turnpiece, and 2 corners. Streets can also have decorations. They can either be some terrain features or a lamp post. Most of the structures for the village are in the houses category. The houses contain animal pens, farms, a large farm, and then a number of actual houses. The houses are in 2 distinct categories. One is for generic houses that are just medium house or small house, and one is for houses for professions of villagers, specifically made to contain 1 point of interest block. Let's start with the generic ones. There are 3 medium-sized houses, 8 small houses. Some of these contain chests, and when they do, they contain the desert variety of loot table. That means that they can contain clay balls, green dye, cactus, wheat, bread, dead bushes, or emeralds. Desert villagers also have houses for armorers, butchers, cartographers, a fisher cottage, fletchers, a library, a mason's hut, a shepherd's house, a tannery, 2 variations of temples, a toolsmithy, and a weaponsmithy. The Plains type of village has 4 types of town centers. 1 is a fountain, and 3 are meeting points. Those lead into streets, of which there are 6 types of straight pieces, 6 types of crossroads, 3 corners, and a turnpiece. For decorations, there's a Plains lamp type. The house category for Plains villages contain 3 types of animal pens, two farms, 1 large and 1 small, 2 additional meeting points, and these are in the houses category to make sure that the village can have more than 1 meeting point. 2 stables, and an accessory. For generic houses, it has a big house, 2 medium houses, and 8 small houses. And again, if these contain chests, they are of the Plains Village loot table, which means that they can contain gold nuggets, poppies, dandelions, potatoes, bread, apples, books, feathers, emeralds, and oak saplings. For profession houses, the Plains Village has a house for the armorer, 2 different butcher shops, a cartographer's house, a fisher cottage, a Fletcher house, 2 different library versions, a mason's house, a shepherd's house, a tannery, 2 different temples, a toolsmithy, and a weaponsmithy. Savanna villages have 4 different types of meeting points as town centers. Those lead off into streets, of which there are 8 types of straight pieces, six crossroads, two splits, 2 corners, and 1 turnpiece. Savannas also have a lamppost for decoration. In the houses categories, there are 3 types of animal pens, two large farms and 1 small farm, for generic houses, there are 2 medium houses and 8 small houses. Chests in these can contain gold nuggets, grass, tall grass, bread, wheat seeds, emeralds, acacia saplings, saddles, and torches. There is a Savanna armorer's hut, 2 types of butcher shops, a cartographer's house, a fisher cottage, a Fletcher house, a library, a mason's hut, a shepherd's house, a tannery, 2 types of temples, a tool smithy, and 2 types of weaponsmithies. The Taiga villages have 2 meeting points as town centers. Those lead off into streets, of which there are 6 straight pieces, six crossroads, three corner pieces, and a turn piece. They have 6 variations of decorations in addition to a lamp post. In the houses category, 2 large farms and a small farm, as well as an animal pen. Taiga villages have 4 types of generic medium houses and 5 types of small houses. Chests in these can contain iron nuggets, ferns, large ferns, potatoes, sweet berries, bread, pumpkin seeds, pumpkin pie, emeralds, spruce saplings, spruce signs, and spruce logs. Taiga villagers also have 2 types of armorers' huts, butcher shop, cartographer's house, a fisher cottage, a Fletcher house, a library, a mason's hut, a shepherd's house, a tannery, a temple, a tool smithy, and 2 weapon smithies. And the final type of village, the Snowy Village, has 3 meeting points as town centers. They lead off into streets, of which there are 6 straight pieces, six crossroads, a square, 3 corner pieces, and a turn piece. There are 3 different types of lampposts for snowy villages. In the houses category, we find 2 animal pens and 2 farms. As well as 3 generic medium houses and 8 small houses. In chests in these you can find snow blocks, blue ice, potatoes, bread, beetroot seeds, beetroot soup, furnaces, emeralds, snowballs, and coal. For snowy villages, there are also 2 types of armorer's house. Two types of butcher's shops. A cartographer's house. A fisher cottage. A Fletcher's house, a library, 2 styles of masons' houses, a shepherd's house, a tannery, a temple, a tool smithy, and a weapon smithy. These all generate all combinations of villagers. The zombie structures are directly copied from these ones, but with the zombie villagers replacing the normal villagers, so I won't be showing those in specific. The last thing to go through here is that chests inside of profession-based houses are the same regardless of which type of village it is. Those loot tables are based off of the profession, not off of the village type. That means that in armorers' houses you can find iron ingots, bread, iron helmets, and emeralds. In butchers' houses you can find pork chops, wheat, beef, mutton, and coal. In cartographers' houses you can find maps, papers, compasses, bread, and sticks. In fisher huts you can find cod, salmon, water buckets, barrels, wheat seeds, and coal. In Fletcher's houses you can find arrows, feathers, eggs, flint, and sticks. In masons' huts you can find clay balls, flower pots, stone bricks, bread, yellow dye, smooth stone, and emeralds. In shepherds' houses you can find white wool, black wool, grey wool, brown wool, light grey wool, emeralds, shears, or wheat. In tanneries you can find leather chest plates, boots, helmets, or leggings, as well as saddles, bread, and emeralds. In temples you can find redstone, bread, rotten flesh, lapis, gold ingots, or emeralds. In tool smithies you can find diamonds, iron ingots, gold ingots, bread, coal, and iron shovels. And in weapon smithies you can find diamonds, iron ingots, gold ingots, bread, apples, iron swords, iron pickaxes, iron chestplates, helmets, leggings, or boots, obsidian, oak saplings, saddles, as well as iron, gold, and diamond horse armor. And those were all the details about how villages get generated in Minecraft 1.14 for the Village and Pillage update. My name is slicedlime, Thank you for watching, I hope you found this useful, and if you did, please help me out in return and leave a like. That's it for this time, take care, and I'll see you next time.